Hey you guys, so I was going through the comments and reading some of the comments, and there's a few things I want to clear up. I think there's some points that are being missed um when it comes to the questions that a lot of us have regarding knotted locks. First and foremost, I want to make it clear I am not against knotted locks. I absolutely agree with knotted locks in theory. I agree with this process helping with having less reties, less manipulation and stress on your follicles, on your scalp, on everything. I agree with knotted locks as far as um, preserving your hair, preventing thinning and loss of locks, which if you have sister locks or micro locks, it contributes to that. The frequent reties and stuff, and knotted locks affords you to not have to have your reties so frequent. They can be 4 times a year or whatever. I'm in total agreement with that. I love that. That's why I've been on this bandwagon from the get go because I agree with the premise. Because I've been saying, if you've been following me and watching my videos, I've been saying this for the longest that the frequent reties are an issue when it comes to sister locks, and having to stick to this strict schedule of every 4 to 6 weeks to have a retie is just too much. It's not good for your locks long term. So there's that. I'm not against Melissa Blake. I'm not against her making money. I'm not against any of that. Excuse me. What I have a problem with and what I do question, and I think a point that none of us really have talked about yet up until now, is the fact that Melissa Blake is, she wants DIYers only to learn knotted locks. And here's the thing, you want women who used to have sister locks to transition from retightenings and interlocking and switch all the way over to knotted locks. And on top of that, you want these same women to do their own retightenings and turn into DIYers. Here's the problem. Most of the women who have sister locks were never DIYers. They went to consultants. They went to certified sister lock consultants, or they went to somebody who just knew how to do the reties and they weren't certified. So to come up with this new technique, but then say, "Oh, by the way, you have to want to be able to do your own hair." You're talking to women with 500 plus locks in their head, tiny locks. And now all of a sudden you want them to be okay with and learn how to maintain their own hair. Not everybody wants to maintain their own hair, and I'm one of them. I have said from the get go, I like other people doing my hair. I would much rather pay you to take care of my hair. And that's how the majority of women are who had sister locks. They went to a consultant, they went to these reties. And I get that you feel that, DIYing is the best way. You take ownership of your own hair. You're responsible for the care of your hair and taking that power back, and you have that power. I get all that. But in reality, that's not how most women feel. That's not what most women want to do. There's always going to be a section of women who would rather go to a shop and pay someone who knows what they're doing to care for their hair. Because if that's the case, Melissa, why do you still do other people's hair? You're not telling your customers, "Oh, no, 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 you have to DIY. You have to learn how to do your hair yourself. I'm not going to do it for you." Why do you have a shop? You have a shop because you're in London and you have people in London who want their hair done and you're willing to do their hair. But for the rest of us who live in the States or elsewhere who are not in London, no, we got to pay. We have to pay a consultant's fee. We have to pay the actual fee for you taking the time to show us how to do this new technique, and then go from there and hope and pray that we do it right and can keep doing it going forward. And see, that's a problem. That's a problem when when you're expecting women, you're talking to women who are not used to DIYing. You only want women who DIY to learn the process of knotted locks. You only want women who DIY to join you to no. And so yes, this is where the frustration comes from other women, because you're saying that I can help you save your hair, I can help you have fuller locks and decrease the thinning, and you're putting out this message, you and Tanisha, y'all putting out this message, and of course it's gonna catch the ears of a lot of women who are experiencing those very things. Women who are desperate to find solutions to help save their locks. Women who are actually going through thinning, losing locks, and they're trying to figure out which is the best way for them. Oh, knotted locks. That sounds like a great idea. That sounds like a great process. Let me look into it. Let me try it out. So people are actually looking into it. I came on, I started making videos about it as it, knotted locks being a good alternative to reties and sister locks. And then we find out, oh, okay, this is only for me if I agree to DIY my own hair. And then on top of that, I have to pay over $600 to learn it, to have. And you're talking to women who have already invested a whole bunch of money into getting sister locks installed, and then all the reties years going forward for however long they've been sister locked. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money that you're asking women to come up with, to all of a sudden they have to change their mindset quickly into, oh, okay, yeah, I'm going to become a DIYer and I'm going to learn how to do this process on my own head. I'm going to sit and knot up 500 to 600 locks, tiny locks on my head by myself. I'm going to become a DIYer, even though I would much rather let someone else do my hair. So pretty much people are back to square one. You're back to square one if being a DIYer is not your jam. If that's not your calling, then no. Knotted locks is not for you unless you find someone in your city and state that actually knows how to do the process. Knotted locks is not for you. And that's kind of where we are, because this is being promoted to those who are DIYers, who don't care, who don't mind doing their own hair. And I'm telling y'all, like, the majority of women, especially those who are already in the process of losing hair, experiencing thinning at the crown or around the edges, and they're desperate for an answer or solution. So what do? I want to give this advice. If anybody out there is currently experiencing severe thinning of any kind, please go ahead and combine that weak lock with a stronger lock, and do that every place you find thinning. Save those locks. Don't let them fall out. Don't let them fall out. And If combining your locks is the answer, then so be it. Combine those locks, all of them, if you have to save them, because you can't keep just letting them fall out. Don't do that. Save those locks. Combine the weak lock with a stronger lock. And I guess until we find some people who know how to do knotted locks here in the States or in your hometown or wherever, I guess we'll just have to wait. Because if in your heart you're not a DIYer and you know that's not something that you're interested in doing, I wouldn't waste the time or the money doing it. But if you feel like you can be a DIYer, you feel like you have the patience to sit and do those knots in your hair 4 times a year, because when you look at it, I mean, that's not bad, only doing it 4 times a year. Excuse me. And if you're not you're okay with walking around with a lot of new growth, and that doesn't bother you, because that's another thing. Sister Lock sold you on neatness. Sister Lock sold you on manicured locks, basically. Neatness, the grid, and your locks looking a certain way. With knotted locks, you're not going to have any of those things. You're going to have a fuller roots. Your locks aren't just going to be straight, they're going to be lumpy now, because now you're going to have these tiny locks in them. And you got to think about that too. Are you okay with that aesthetic? Are you okay with that look, or do you think you will be okay with that? Because you're switching things completely up, all in the name of saving your locks. So this is a lot to think about. This is a lot to consider. Um, yeah, you got to change your mindset. You got to change your mindset. So, there's people who's like, complaining and saying that I'm messing with this woman's money. I'm putting out false narratives just from asking questions. These are legitimate questions and concerns that a lot of people have, because yes, this process is new. And yes, you just can't tell someone, well, just call up Melissa, just schedule an appointment. Did you ask her the questions and blah, blah, blah? Listen, she charges for all that. Her time is not free. And I get that. I don't blame her. Absolutely. But see, that's why we're asking questions, and that's why we're asking more people who actually did a consultation with Melissa, or who went through the training with Melissa, or who's had the knotted locks for more than 2 years. We want to hear from them, and I don't think that's asking too much. I don't think that's messing with her money or putting out a false narrative. No, it's asking needed questions, because that's what normal people do. You shouldn't be a blind follower behind anything, especially when money is involved and the amount of money that she's asking for. I would gladly pay that money the same way I gladly paid the Sister Locks money, if I knew what I was getting into, if I knew what the process was. Sister Locks didn't hide the hair, they hid the tool and the grid. And then social media exposed all of that, and now nothing's a secret, because pretty much everybody knows what the tool looks like, and we've all seen the grid. But at least you could see the hair. You saw what the locks look like at different lengths, at different stages. What Sister Locks did not talk about was how you would experience, some people would experience thinning after a certain amount of time, or loss of locks. Not everybody experiences that, but a lot of women do after a certain amount of time, and it varies from person to person. But also, the longer your locks get, yeah, the more likely you're going to experience it. With the knotted locks, we have nothing to go by other than Melissa's word and Tanisha Ali, who's now a strong supporter, and she has a partnership with Melissa. We only have them to go by. And again, in a video I posted yesterday, I let you guys know that I went to Melissa's website where you can see her work a little better, and she has different people on there, not patients, clients who have had the knotted locks for 2-3 years or whatever, maybe a little longer, but I think 3 years was the longest that I've seen of anyone. But you can go to her website and look at the pictures, see for yourself, judge for yourself. She answers questions on there, so check it out. But these are legitimate questions that people have, and we have to remember that you're transitioning from sister locks or micro locks to a whole new system. You're going from interlocking to knots, and she wants you to do it yourself. So those are things you have to think about. You have to figure out for yourself, do I really want to do this? Am I a DIY type of person? Especially when I would much rather, I know personally, I like to go to the shop and have someone else do my hair. So from that standpoint, yes, knotted locks may not be for you, and you need to think of another solution. And for those who are losing their locks, I myself personally would say combine those locks to save them. Do not let them continue to just fall out or break off. Combine those weak locks with stronger locks and save them. 2-strand twist them, whatever you choose to do. Plait them together or braid them, but save them first and foremost. And also talk to your loctician. If your loctician is open to changing things up with your routine, pushing out your reties and not doing them so frequently, and asking them if they would help you to combine your locks to save them. See if you can work something out with your consultant and go from there. And if your consultant is not willing to work with you, then you got to take matters into your own hands and combine them yourself. And if you're not a DIYer, and there's nothing wrong with not being a DIYer, you shouldn't be shamed for not being a DIYer. If you're not a DIYer, knotted locks is not for you. That's just what it is. And pretty much that's what Melissa tells you too. Like, she only wants to work with people who DIY. That's it. There's no shops that I know of here in the US where people know how to do knotted locks. You have to live in London to get the knotted locks. And then, because she has a shop there, she has clients that, that she does this for. So that's another thing. So yeah, those are the decisions that people are going to have to make and think about. It's not just that simple. This is not a decision that anybody should make hastily. You have to really think about this, because if you got 500-600 tiny locks in your head, and she wants you to be a DIYer and do your own reties with these knots, that's a lot of time. Honey, you got to be mentally ready and prepared and able to do that. So for those who do DIY and they love it and they've taken the class, and hey, more power to you. I'm not trying to talk anybody out of it or into it. I'm just giving the options of what you have to think about and what you're getting into. So that's all I want to say. I think I covered a lot and covered the main basis. So y'all chime in, let me know what y'all think. And if I'm crazy, because apparently to some, I'm being crazy and I'm being shady for asking questions. And I just think that's so weird, because why wouldn't we ask these questions? Why wouldn't we think of these different things before jumping headfirst into something completely new? I mean, I don't operate that way. I'm not some blind sheep that just follows anybody because somebody on YouTube says so. I don't work that way. A lot of y'all don't work that way either. That's why we having this discussion, because we're like, this something's not adding up. This is not. Mm. So chime in. Thanks for watching. Keep the conversation going. Keep the comments coming. Thank y'all. Bye bye.